I firmly believe that if you gave me a suit of armor, I could convince Joe Rogan he traveled back in time in less than 60 seconds. And if you gave me an old looking calendar that said 3 on it really big, I could do it in 20.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy, and all I need in this life of sin is me and my girlfriend. Come on, Eric. O3 Bonnie and Clyde.
I don't.
Jay-Z and Beyonce. All right.
I mean, I know the song exists because when I was reading the wiki page about the real Bonnie and Clyde.
Well, if you want, I could send the Sergei Gainsbourg Bridge of Ardot version, their original Bonnie and Clyde song that was covered, Eric, by Scarlett Johansson years later.
Yeah.
Because she does sometimes those sultry loungy covers.
She does, and then
she has a sultry loungy voice.
She sang the "Trust in Me" song for the closing credits and soundtrack of The Jungle Book. She was in, and I liked that version.
Oh, that's right. Who was she in that? The Snake, right?
Snake, yeah, that's the because she doesn't. The Snake doesn't sing it. That movie was a weird sort of tiny. It dipped its toes in being a musical.
Yeah, I couldn't decide. I still really like that movie, actually.
Me too, but they didn't have her sing in the movie, but she sang the Snake song in the closing credits.
We are the Magnitude, Eric, and as you can tell by my impeccable dulcet tones at the beginning, we are doing Bonnie and Clyde this week in the main event. My name is Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric Goldman.
Hello, everybody.
Are you ready to talk about the oldest film that ever olded?
Previously, I don't know about ever olded, but
no. Previously, we have rarely done a movie from before we were born, or even before we were 10, honestly. But
we can mix it up.
We did the Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, which was 69, right? Nice. And then we are doing Bonnie and Clyde this week from 1967. Which was very controversial for its time for the violence depicted and also the juxtaposition of violence with sort of like ridiculous Keystone Cops type comedy slapstick. Very French New Wave this movie was trying to pull off. But let's get into some entertainment news and then some mail and then some good things to enjoy before we talk the bank robbing duo of Bonnie and Clyde as part of our Killer Couples a-thon here, our sort of we're not doing a franchise, but we are doing a theme. We didn't know what the theme would be when we didn't know killers.
We figured it out.
We just kind of went from there. And there's a Woody Harrelson connection here too, because actually watching this movie made me want to check out. I don't even think it got really good reviews, but The Highwaymen on Netflix with Costner and Harrelson.
Right. I forgot that existed. And then same thing. I read about it on the wiki page. Went, oh yeah, kind of remember that. It's another Netflix movie with big stars. It isn't supposed to be very good,
but in that case, Harrelson is part of the duo who's after Bonnie and Clyde. So he's tracking his own Mickey and Mallory.
Yeah. Well, True Detective, he got to also, well, it wasn't a Mickey and Mallory, but
well, just because anytime he's a cop doesn't mean. I'm saying thematically it fits with the couples. Okay, so on the night, some people were wondering, like, why is Marvel launching a trailer on a Monday evening during playoff football? Did they even say it was because it was the night of the wolf moon? I don't know. It was the night of the full moon.
I was not aware of that, but it sounds good.
Well, Eric, in January, the full moon is the wolf moon.
All I know is that it messed with my schedule, Matt, because I was at the New Beverly to watch New York Ninja and Miami Connection, and I therefore could not watch the Moon Knight trailer, or I could have watched it on my phone in between the movies, but I wasn't going to do that. So I had to wait till I got home to.
I have to say, growing up in New York, very, very disappointed in how many times I've seen an actual ninja and or a turtle.
Well, what about every Marvel superhero that you did not see?
I just assumed they were up. Like
they were fighting around on the roof.
Yeah, I just miss them or something going through the sky. But yeah, so Moon Knight, the trailer inconveniently launched for anyone who has to cover the Moon Knight trailer on Monday evening, possibly, maybe, perhaps to coincide with the full moon. And I feel like this one will draw in some casuals because of the Oscar Isaac factor. What do you think?
I think so. And because it
because it looks insane. It looks actually
insane.
Interesting.
Well, the WandaVision got a lot of people who were casuals or Marvel nevers or rarelys because it looked insane, but interestingly insane. In a way that, you know, transcended, like, I follow everything of the MCU. It's important.
Right. In a way that's like can interest somebody who doesn't want to just see a comic book origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because look, we said this from the beginning, a benefit of these shows is that they can go crazy. They can go weird in a way the movies cannot, both for running time and probably to try to be sellable around the world. To actually pay for a ticket versus like, I'll check this out on a streaming service.
Though, as Eric found out on Twitter this week, Hawkeye probably had no problem with the global fandom, the passionate, fervent global fandom for Haley Steinfeld.
I did. I have to tell that story now in a second to elaborate, but it was interesting because they had one other crazy show, which was Loki, but that one was like so even more than WandaVision, like felt like immersed in MCU to go into it, you know, because it was like a character who died and this is an alternate version of him. But no matter what, I do appreciate that these shows can get weird. And so Moon Knight, who is, you know, frankly speaking, the character that I've read some Moon Knight. I read most of the book called Mark Spector: Moon Knight. From the late 80s, early 90s.
Yes, I had those too. Yeah.
But I haven't read like a shitload of Moon Knight. Like
I haven't read anything recent. Everything I know is from,
I read a little bit of the
ago.
stuff from about 10 years ago that made him like where he looked all dirty and like his costume was all torn, but not a lot. So but yeah, so I liked this trailer, was like leaning into the, like, you know, this is weird. This character is different. He's definitely doesn't feel like your typical superhero.
Well, he's got a mental disconnect. He's got a dissociative personality disorder or something, if they're following the comic books.
Yep.
Also, it's got the Ethan Hawke factor, or as Carol Goldman, your mother, says, the ugliest man in cinema. Ethan Hawke famously had once taken a swipe or a dig or a shot at superhero movies at some point. He probably dissed the MCU. I forget what his actual quote was. Maybe he even said, I'll kill myself before I'll be in a Marvel movie.
I remember it was about he talked about Logan because
that's right. Yeah.
He was like people were saying it was like the greatest movie and it was great for a superhero movie, but it wasn't, like, he didn't feel like it was a great movie on its own. And
this was when, you know, the Scorsese comments were really taken off. So, and everybody was super prickly about, hey, our superhero movies, which, by the way, no one needs to defend because nothing exists at the multiplex.
We're
anymore.
fine if certain famous people don't like them, guys.
But they got him. They got the Hawk. It's also interesting because
from a personal request by his neighbor Oscar Isaac.
I would just say, did he literally like walk next door, like knock and be like, hey?
I believe they saw each other at a coffee shop, which was a regular occurrence. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that story. That's so cool. I just think it's weird for Ethan Hawke in particular because he does so much genre stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He does so much sci-fi and horror in particular, but that. Would he say something like, that's a great movie, great for a horror movie? Would he say that? I don't know. Maybe he would. But then again, those weren't done on a favor to Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
So we've got the trailer playing, and for the most of the trailer, this character is named Steve, which we may assume from the comics is Stephen Grant, though here he's British and sort of inept, and in the comics he was sort of like a suave millionaire. Then we learn like that he knows something's wrong with him enough to like chain himself to the bed, but he's also not aware of his Mark Spector personality, who's a mercenary. And it's with Mark Spector is the personality that like was the one that was in the Egyptian tomb and was betrayed by his fellow merc. And if you're going by like the old origin story and like connected to the moon god, I don't remember the moon god's name.
Khonshu. Because he was the Fist of Khonshu. That was another one of his comics. Was Moon Knight, Fist of Khonshu.
Is it Khonshu?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm just saying things.
That sounds good. I'll go with Khonshu.
Sure.
Or
soon,
Khonshu.
You know what?
Khonshu?
I know. Soon the TikTok teens will all know how to say it.
We'll say the Khonshu. And then, God bless the TikTok teens, every one of them. So
that's my prayer every day.
But then his costume looks supernatural in this too, because it sort of wraps around him like a mummy, you know, sort of like morphs around him. And again, I haven't read enough of the comics to know if that's actually from an iteration or a story. We do see a glimpse of Khonshu or Khonshu because it's like a dude with a bird head that's sort of, an Egyptian god style bird head, but in a suit.
None of the comics I read gave him a magic costume, but that's not to say he didn't get one later. I do remember when the West Coast Avengers went back in time to ancient Egypt, and we found out that several of Moon Knight's weapons were made by Hawkeye. Like they were created by Hawkeye while the Avengers were in the past, left behind, and one day they would be used by Moon Knight.
So like we know that Sharon Carter's on the series. Where we don't know how it's going to connect to anything else.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Van Camp's in it. And
look, this is news. You're scooping me.
And I just went by IGN's slideshow, like who's in the cast, and it said she's in it. So
because I believe this is again one of those cases where the only people announced are Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, and then anyone you glimpse in the trailer. But
I'm not saying like officially announced by Marvel. And then we've got Gaspard Ulliel as Midnight Man, who tragically just perished, and he was like 33 years old,
37 I think, but
37. He died because of injuries due to a skiing accident,
and we're recording this on Wednesday, so 2 days after the trailer, and I think he died today. So super sad. I mean, he's just a young actor. A lot of people knew him as young Hannibal Lecter in Hannibal Rising, and he's again reportedly, and it's probably right, is the villain Midnight Man from the comics. And
then we've got Ethan Hawke playing a character that I don't know if it's from the comics or not, or could be like
he's from one issue of the comics. So they're definitely doing their own thing. They're using a name from like one issue from the 80s. And
fans are wondering if Bushman or Sun King are in it, but who knows? And is this 6 eps?
I don't know if they said for sure, but I think the assumption is.
Probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
All right. I think it looked properly insane. It looks like the type of project, looks like the type of hero project that would interest someone like Oscar Isaac. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's something that's like, it can't just be like, oh, I touched a moon rock and now I have powers. It has to be something a little more off kilter. And a little more interesting for, an actor who's, again, obviously in a mega Star Wars trilogy, but also is mostly known for like smaller indie stuff, to sort of attract him into that. Especially, I would say, following the Star Wars movies and a lot of the cast dissatisfaction with how that all sort of came together in the end.
Right. I thought it looked really cool, and certainly the fact that they're leaning into like him having the different personalities, which is a key component, but as you said, also something that would attract Oscar Isaac. And by the end of the trailer, when, he's getting the phone call, saying Mark, and he doesn't know who that is, but it's him, we know, Mark Spector. It's like, okay, what's the deal with the accent he's doing? Well, the accent he's doing is probably not Mark Spector's accent. It's like, that is the Steven personality's accent, and Mark Spector probably sounds like Oscar Isaac, I'm betting, or a lot more like him.
Or he's like, hello, this is Mark. Hey, everybody, it's Mark Spector. Where's the streetwise cabbie, Eric?
Well, yeah, because that's Jake. That's his other prominent personality. I saw people were speculating if Jake. I think I even saw Jake Lockley was trending on Twitter as people speculated if we were spotting him in the trailer or not.
So yeah, I'm in on the Moon Knight. It's got me. And I can't wait. When is it? March
30th.
30th.
So there will be a multi-week break between Boba Fett ending and this. Again, I think eventually they want to have almost every week Star Wars or Marvel. It's going to take a while for them to get there. I noticed that in February they're going to have assembled episodes for both Hawkeye and Eternals. And, maybe there'll be a behind the scenes.
Well, now you can tell your tweet story.
Boba Fett. Oh, tell my tweet story, which is, thank you for reminding me. Simply that, we get these press releases that are talking about like streaming services and what's coming next month. And Disney sends out one for Hulu and Disney Plus. That's kind of like it's like an early combined one, but you can get a lot of dates first on that list. So I was reading through it and I was just tweeting out some of the dates I knew would be of interest. And I saw that there was a Hawkeye assembled episode that assembled as those behind the scenes specials they do, which are about an hour, documentaries. Hawkeye 1 February 9th, Eternals, February 16th. I tweeted that out. That's all I tweeted with no other context. I didn't know the context because I didn't know that Hawkeye was originally announced for today, the day we're recording this. It was going to come out on January 19th, and I guess they delayed it a few weeks. And, you know, I think most people will be like, oh, either they're like, oh, they delayed it, or I'm looking forward to that. Too bad they delayed it. But what I stumbled into by tweeting that out, and it became an extremely popular tweet, and I think it's got like 3,000 likes now. And I would never expected this to be a tweet that took off. I kept being retweeted and quote tweeted by extremely upset young female Haley Steinfeld fans from around the world.
Or like weird clone accounts of like fan account. Whether they're real or not, you still got bombarded.
A healthy amount, I think, were real, but it was just very funny because there was Italian and Portuguese and Spanish, French,
the full Cesaro,
distraught. This is, you know, my life is over. This is all I was waiting for. How dare they? You know, cursing out Marvel, cursing the world. They needed new Haley Steinfeld.
I have some of your text to me of like what the tweets are. Right. I'm going to die. It was supposed to come out tomorrow. Yes. That was French. In Spanish, yeah. Okay, I'm going to burn everything. And then Italian, what's on February 9th? I lived only for this.
I think again, these are translations of
these are, and then the best one translated from Portuguese. Yeah. February, I thought it was tomorrow. My brightness disappeared.
Yes, which I hope is exactly what they said, and that's not a weird translation. And it's just funny to see
localization. Yeah.
I understand she's, you know, got a following, but it's just that thing of like the hyper specific following someone has, and realizing like, you know, casting her in Hawkeye, it's, you know, it gives this whole new avenue. And I mentioned how like Only Murders in the Building is a funny show because it has Steve Martin and Martin Short, people who literally decades of comedy, but then it has Selena Gomez. And I see Steve Martin tweeting out his photos from the set of season 2. And if Selena's in them, all the responses are Selena Gomez fans that are so happy that they're getting from Steve Martin. They're getting like new Selena content.
Just a picture right. Of Selena Gomez.
There she is sitting on the set.
Look, everyone look at Selena Gomez and she's doing stuff.
Or she's not doing anything. She's just
they could be like the Mad Men promo pictures, like Don hails a cab. Right. Pete looks at the wall.
That's
Roger
enough,
takes
man.
the elevator. Yeah.
That's enough. And then that was funny today because Haley Steinfeld just like posted a picture of herself in a bikini, and I'm like, well, see, there's some there. Haley's giving you something
there. That's more than her just sitting around on set.
And it's not a Hawkeye assembled special, but look, guys, she cares about her fans. So,
all right. Does Moon Knight know the Eternals? Does he actually? Are we gonna find out the Hawkeye built its weapons? We don't know. We'll find out when Moon Knight debuts on March 30th. Now, on to the real main event here, which kind of buried the lead for all of 2022 so far, by the way. This is the best news.
Oh, yeah. This is great news.
Fandom worlds collide in one of the most ridiculous and best ways when we learned this week that, okay, bad news first, Roku TV, all right,
well, guess what, Matt? You can watch it because I can. You a Roku.
No, I can. I could have watched it anyway because it's just the Roku TV is in my son's room, so I'd have to go in there to like watch all my Roku content. But now, thanks to Eric, I can watch Roku anywhere. I can take Roku with me.
You could.
Daniel Radcliffe was Harry Potter for a decade.
Not familiar.
Mega successful movie franchise, one of the biggest franchises in the history of cinema.
Financially set for life, unless he was like a crazy messed up person, which he is not. So financially,
who like a lot of kind of get like Robert Pattinson too, except that now he's Batman. Like following these huge paydays from these big successful YA, I could call Harry Potter franchise. Mm-hmm. Now just works when they want and does what they want. Like we mentioned that he's doing like he's been on that TBS series, like Miracle Workers for like 3. And then it became after the first season an anthological show, like a seasonally anthological show that we didn't even know it was going to be when it started.
Right.
He is going to play America's poet laureate Weird Al Yankovic in a Weird Al Yankovic biopic.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Written by Weird Al.
Weird Al, called Weird, the Weird Al Yankovic story, which is now in the works at Funny or Die, will focus on the life and career of award-winning musician Weird Al Yankovic, who is known for his cutting pop culture parodies. Weird Al Yankovic is no stranger to the multiplex, by the way, because he also starred in and wrote UHF from 1989, which maybe we'll have to do a main event on at some point.
It's got Fran Drescher in it, my wife's favorite actress.
So this is amazing. No statement from Radcliffe. Like the press release had statements from like the producers, director, Weird Al Yankovic himself.
Well, and Weird Al was very funny because he said something about like, this will be the role Daniel Radcliffe will be remembered for, or something like that.
You know what? I'll be waiting to be proved wrong. I'm going to wait to see what happens. Now, Radcliffe hasn't said this, but everything I know about Radcliffe, aside from just doing quirky projects like playing a farting corpse with a boner, is that he is a lyrics nerd, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? Like who, by the way, also loves Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes.
He is a lyrics nerd because I don't know if you've seen some of his talk show appearances over the years. On Fallon, he rapped Black Alicious' Alphabet Aerobics. Yes. And then on the Tom Norton show, he sang Tom Lehrer's The Elements. And these are both really complicated, fast lyrical songs that take a lot of memorization and a lot of also practice to get right, like just saying it to the rhythm and the beat and everything. So I am convinced that he can sing the fast part of Hardware Store. I think he can do it. Weird Al fans out there, you know what I'm talking about with Hardware Store. One of his non-parody songs, which is about just a hardware store in town and how excited he is about it. Eric and I are huge Weird Al Yankovic fans. Huge. For those who don't know him or know him and don't like him, may I offer you Exhibit A? There was a song called I Want a New Drug, but in Weird Al's version, he says, I want a new duck.
He does. Well, I recently was talking to you. I can't remember if I said this on the podcast. I didn't know he did Grapefruit Diet, his parody of Zoot Suit Riot.
It takes me to laugh. I haven't even heard the song. Exhibit B. He takes La Bamba. It's lasagna. Wow. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's so good.
Instead of Rico Suave, it's Taco Grande. Which leads me to one of my favorite stories that Weird Al has told a couple times over the years, because Weird Al doesn't necessarily need to get artist permission for what he does, like the legal loophole state.
He doesn't legally have to, but
he likes to. Weird Al Yankovic is a kind and gentle and giving. He's one of the quote unquote nicest people in the entertainment business, right? Like you hear about these people. He's kind to animals. He's vegan, I believe. Just a gentle soul. He doesn't work blue. But so he does ask for permission, and usually he gets it. I know there was a hullabaloo with Coolio gave his permission, but then after the fact sort of like took it back.
And then famously Prince never gave him permission, which is why
Prince never gave him. So he didn't do it. He could have,
but he could have, but he didn't. Yeah.
Man, he could have raspberry sorbet, Eric.
There's a lot he could have done.
But so he actually did ask Kurt Cobain for Smells Like Teen Spirit. And all Kurt wanted to know is if it was going to be about food, and he said no.
Well, he kind of said it's not. It's not going to be. Kurt was like, it's not going to be another food song, will it? And he said no.
He's like, no, it's going to be about how nobody can understand what you're saying. And he's like, oh, okay, that's good, that's fine. Because a lot of the songs, as I named a few,
and I named
food,
yes,
and so much so that Weird Al has an entire compilation album called The Food Album, with just his food parody songs.
Well, Eat It was kind of his breakthrough hit.
Eat It and Fat are both about food. So.
I know, it's a continuing story. This is all fantastic. I didn't know, actually, till you mentioned it, Matt, I'd somehow missed that Funny or Die Productions is behind this, only because the one funny thing about many funny things about this, but several years ago, Funny or Die did a parody trailer of a Weird Al Yankovic biopic. and the whole thing was like, being a parody of a biopic, showing him like unhinged and, doing the whole arc, like, like Walk Hard parodied of where you go with these movies. And Aaron Paul played Weird Al. And
Yeah, I
I
remember that. I do.
And with the real Weird Al had a cameo in it. Anyway, so it is funny that like it's like that turned in, like that ended up being like a concept trailer, I guess, and now they're doing the real thing.
Well, I mean, maybe that got him started writing this.
Maybe, yeah,
and now it's done. And then all he had to do was meet up with Daniel Radcliffe and Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke in a coffee shop and ask him which one of you three wants to play me.
What a day at the coffee shop that was.
And like Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke take a step backwards, and Daniel Radcliffe's left standing in front. It's like, no.
we're talking to Kevin Feige about something. We'll have to get back to.
All right. I'm going to briefly just say that the Lord of the Rings series is called Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which is Amazon's enormously expensive Lord of the Rings show, which is set during the second age of Middle-earth's history, which is not really written about in the Tolkien books, except chronicled in the appendices of the books. So it takes place thousands of years before everything we've seen in the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. And Eric could not care less.
But I am going to, before this show, I think I'll rewatch the movies. So maybe we can do them on this podcast, Matt. We can discuss.
No, I don't want to hear you shit talk them.
I don't hate them. I'm not like these are worthless. Like,
I am so precious about the Hobbit movies.
You're what, Matt?
Precious. The Hobbit movies you can drag through the mud.
Well, that one I only bothered seeing the first one because that was not.
Although I would argue that the second one is the best because of the Smaug element. But yeah. None of them. That's like calling Mo the smartest stooge. Anyway. Lord of the Rings, maybe. I mean, we could have done that for our Killer Couples road trip movies. We just do that. We just do Fellowship of the Ring and Road Trip. and Euro Trip.
That's the series. That's the trilogy.
That's it. All right. Because I'm not going to dive into the Lord of the Rings news too much because I don't want our Bonnie and Clyde episode to somehow be our longest one.
Sure.
You can follow us on Twitter at the Matt Fowler, the Eric Goldman. We Enjoy podcast. On Patreon, you can for $2 a month you can get a commercial-free version of this podcast. You can message us on Patreon, on Twitter, or at weenjoypodcast@gmail.com. We have a few messages this week. One is the subject line is comic books to enjoy, ? This is from Daniel, who writes, "Hey, Matt and Eric, longtime fan of your podcast. I used to listen to Channel Surfing on IGN all the time and was sad to see it go. So happy to have found We Enjoy. Thanks for the hours of podcasting entertainment. I'm hoping you can give advice on a different good thing to enjoy, comic books. I like comics, but I don't have much time to read them. As a result, I find myself mostly liking comics that are contained stories that don't require knowledge of complicated backstory and hopefully come to some sort of conclusion. For example, I'm a big fan of Old Man Logan, Long Halloween, Marvel's Knights, Spider-Man, The Killing Joke, etc. I'm looking to find more Marvel contained stories. Any suggestions?" Daniel, I'm going to turn this one over to Eric because I've been out of the comic book game for a long while, though I did watch the 2-part movies for Long Halloween a few weeks ago.
I jump in and out so dramatically, and right now I say I'm not out. I'm not like I'm willing to read them. I just haven't been lately. Though I think I'm actually going to try to read some Moon Knight to bone up before the new one. And I don't know. You mentioned enough title. What was the person who wrote this? His name?
Daniel.
So you wrote. You mentioned a few good titles here. So it seems like you have been dabbling enough. Like one here's a couple I feel like I can always recommend to people if you haven't read them already, which is Runaways, the original Runaways, which is usually collected together as like one volume, like the first omnibus or the first collection. It's 18 issues, I believe, the Brian K. Vaughan first run, which doesn't have like a definitive ending. In fact, it continued on after, but I feel like is a really cool story in and of itself, just where it goes. Whether or not you saw the TV show or not, but the basic setup of a bunch of kids find out that their parents, they're a bunch of kids who've been longtime friends because their parents have been friends, but now that their parents are supervillains, and kind of where it goes from there. That's a really fun one. And then if you're into a little more adult content, back when Marvel was doing their Max line, which had like R-rated material, which right now they're not doing and probably never will again. But the original Alias comic, which is where Jessica Jones comes from, and it was called Alias, yes. And that was, I think it lasted 27 issues. Again, there's like the omnibus collection or a couple different trade paperbacks. And again, the character went on to do more in Marvel, but you can just read those stories and not feel like, oh my God, like this is just part of a small story, is telling its own thing. The TV show pulled from it, of course, in some big ways, whether or not you saw that with the main villain the first season, but just a really cool book that gets into sort of like, because her character, and something I wish the TV show had done more of, if a show could have done a case of the week, it's that one.
Yeah, if she had more like actual PI work, it would have been
right. It's her being a private eye in the Marvel universe who works on kind of low rent superhero connected cases. So it's like, you're not going to go to her if you need to stop Ultron, but if you feel like a third-rate supervillain is ripping you off or conning you or something, you might call her. And it's just kind of a fun, cool noir comic for that reason. So those two are two of my regular go-tos. After that, I'd have to think on it more because, yes, once we get into the Spider-Mans and the Hulks of the world.
Yeah, because it's been a while. I did read Long Halloween, but a long time ago. So watching the movie version, I was like, I remember some of this.
Right.
A long time ago, I read and liked, I don't know what your tastes run, Daniel, if you like Frank Miller or not. He runs very hot or very cold with me. I liked Electra Assassin, Arkham Asylum too. I know that you were looking for Marvel stuff, but yeah. But you mentioned Batman thing, so Batman seems to always be the exception, even if someone's a huge Marvel fan. So
right. And you mentioning Long Halloween is making me think about Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale and all the books they did together. And they did a bunch of miniseries for Marvel that were all kind of like year one-ish looks back that were all really cool. Spider-Man Blue, Hulk Gray. They were all like this sort of color theme that they did. And I'm blanking on the others, but there were more. I think Daredevil Yellow, which makes sense if you know his first costume in the comics. Yes, those were all cool. Marvels, Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross's that was a big point for comics when that came out, and Alex Ross giving his like painted style in a very like, here's what it would look if people walked around in these costumes, and not the movie versions with the cool armor plating and all that.
And speaking of Alex Ross, Kingdom Come, again, DC, but
yeah, that's a great one. Actually, and speaking of Kingdom Come, I'll go to an old Marvel story that I always recommend, which is 1985's 12-issue miniseries or maxi series, as they some called it, Squadron Supreme. Characters that appeared before and after this series, but this is their definitive story. And Squadron Supreme were basically created as a goof by Marvel to be like, it's clearly the Justice League. Like if you look, it's like, oh, Nightwing, he's not Nightwing, Nighthawk. Nighthawk, he's Batman, and Hyperion is Superman, and Power Princess is a Wonder Woman. And they were mostly just used for these quick one-off stories. They were alternate reality characters. But the 12-issue series from the mid-'80s was a very serious, like, because it was set in an alternate universe, they could kind of get grittier and do more interesting things that sometimes the mainstream comics can do. And one funny thing about Squadron Supreme, if you read it now and you read Kingdom Come, is it kind of predicted things that would happen in Kingdom Come, which is a real DC story with the real DC heroes. But there's some funny parallels. I don't think they consciously ripped them off, but where the Squadron Supreme are the rip-off characters, they kind of did some things that later on the characters they were ripped off from would also do. So that is one I recommend.
Thank you, Daniel, for writing in. I hope that helps. I hope that's giving you some good things to enjoy. Reading edition. We also have another email, this one time from Mike in San Antone. His subject line is 2021 best of. He writes, Ween Joys. Big agree with Eric on Licorice Pizza. Definitely my favorite of 2021 as well. You two hit on most of my faves from the last year, but I was wondering if you had thoughts on a couple I loved you didn't name. The Tragedy of Macbeth and Red Rocket. P.S. He wrote H-A-Z like cheeseburger style, Can we has Royal Rumble podcast? Yes, I do believe we will bust out the We Enjoy Wrestling podcast for the Rumble in
The
2
Rumble's a
weeks.
good one to do it for.
Yeah, like the big fours.
Plus, when we do those, we can do a little state of wrestling. Since there's
I got sidetracked. Side quest here on this. Going to wrestling. A lot of people are talking about how there's going to be like, it could be Ring of Honor or AEW, or is Cody Rhodes going to be in the Royal Rumble? Like they're calling it the forbidden door of like WWE, like letting in because
other promotions.
Because right now Impact's Wrestling Knockouts champion Mickey James is going to be in the Rumble as Impact Wrestling's Knockouts champion with the title belt and all that coming into her entrance theme. I believe her actual song, that not her WWE entrance theme, but like her hardcore country Impact Wrestling theme. How can people keep talking about the forbidden door? Like who's going to cross through the forbidden door at the Royal Rumble? Eric, it sounds so pornographic.
It sounds very pornographic.
It sounds like butt stuff. And like anyone who says it does, it's like, who do you want to see cross through go through the forbidden door this Sunday night? And I'm like,
all right. At first I was like, oh, Matt, we got to stop talking about wrestling. No one who knows who's the hell we're talking about. But now I'm glad you did, because
I'm sorry, because you see it too, right? It's not just
oh yeah.
okay.
No. I agree. I completely agree.
All right. Okay. Mike, I have not seen Tragedy of Macbeth or Red Rocket, though I would like to.
I haven't seen Tragedy of Macbeth. It's on the list. But I have seen Red Rocket and I liked it a lot. It's one of those movies that it's interesting because it's so very consciously about a terrible person. And so it's like, and there's times where you're like, oh, this guy, like, it's not giving you any kind of rope about like, you see he's charismatic. So it's like, it's kind of explaining him a little to you. But yeah,
I mean, is his defense that he's kind of like a dumb golden retriever? Like, is that like the one saving grace he has,
I guess so. But but I really liked it. It
also holds a little different context. Mike, I don't know how old you are, but for Eric and I, who grew up with Simon Rex as an MTV like personality and VJ.
Oh yeah.
To see him get his like his chewy indie film,
and to do the cover of THR with Nicolas Cage, Jonathan Majors, Andrew Garfield. I can't remember the other guy. Like all the people who are rewards potential. That was amazing.
Because Simon Rex was like in league with like Eric Nies,
right?
Sort of like the himbo, right? Like, and now he's playing a himbo.
He had the later scary movies as his one kind of big claim to fame in cinema.
That's right. He was in those, wasn't he?
Yep. Anyway, so yeah, I really like that, but I'm glad that this email came in because I forgot one of my favorite movies of last year when I put my list up, and it was bugging the hell out of me like 10 minutes after we finished recording.
Oh,
The Last Duel. I forgot to mention.
Last Duel. Yeah,
which has been one of my good things to enjoy. But
you did recommend it. You did recommend it. And as we know. Millennials killed The Last Duel. If you ask Ridley Scott,
who needs to go on tour with Brian Cox in the "I Say What I Want," what the fuck are you gonna do? I'm old and talented. Tour.
What did he say? It's like everyone's so used to looking at their phones. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a stupid statement, but he made a great movie.
All right, our good things to enjoy. You go first.
My good thing to enjoy is kind of pivoting off of a couple weeks ago now, but recent movie talk, or I guess actually just last week. What am I talking about? Scream 5, or Scream as they're calling it, is in theaters now. We had a whole conversation about it on an episode you should listen to if you've seen that film, special episode. But that film was the new feature film from the group called Radio Silence. That is a trio, 2 directors and executive producer who make films together. And their first feature-length film, I believe, I hope I'm not forgetting something before that, because they worked on shorts and VHS and stuff like that before, is Ready or Not. And we both mentioned this movie in passing for sure, especially talking about Scream. But it's my good thing to enjoy this week. I love this movie. It is one of, as I mentioned, I believe on that Scream episode, it was one of my very favorite movies of 2019, the year it came out. I just, it was one of those times where I went to a press screening and was just so freaking happy. Like the movie ended and I was just like, yes, like this is exactly my shit. By the way, I'm a total liar because Radio Silence had made a feature film, at least one before Devil's Due. And Southbound is another anthology they worked on. But anyway, let's talk about Ready or Not, which is the movie that did not introduce me to Samara Weaving because she was on a couple episodes of Ash versus Evil Dead. And I've seen her in a couple other things too.
I've always liked her, except the new G.I. Joe movie.
Oh, no. I mean, this new G.I. Joe movie.
Why was she so bad in that? I mean,
he was bad in it, but it was a terrible movie. And yeah. Anyway, she's great in this. Which, if this was a small under the radar movie, although it made money, especially on its $6 million budget, it made $57.6 million worldwide. So that's great for that kind of movie. But yeah, that she plays this young, it all takes place on one night. It is the night of a wedding. And she is a woman who comes from little money, low class, if you're going to be crass. Not a low class person, but she does come from money. But she's marrying into a lot of money, and she's marrying into a family of rich weirdos. And on the night of their wedding, her husband kind of springs on her that there's this silly family tradition that they all play a game. They kind of have to pick which game it'll be. They don't know going in which one it'll be, and they do whatever it says. And it turns out her game is hide and seek. And again, the hook of the movie is, guess what? It is an insane, murderous version of hide and seek where everyone in the family is supposed to try to hunt and kill her. And she has to make it to sunrise to survive, to earn her life. And so it's a very high concept movie. And it is, it knows it. It is it's got a comedic bent. It's not goofy. This is the reason. But if you watch this movie, it's like, why, when these guys were hired to do Scream, it's like perfect. Because like Scream, it is playing like for real, like the death and the stakes, but it's winking at you. It's having fun with what it's doing the whole time. Really fun movie, really fun cast. Henry Czerny, Kittredge from Mission Impossible is the patriarch of the family. Andy McDowell is the matriarch of the family. Adam Brody, who's always very funny, is very funny and cool in this. I was thinking about how with this and Scream 4, he's in two beloved horror comedy tinged movies.
And Jennifer's Body, which we did a breakout on.
And Jennifer's Body, that's right.
A main event on, yeah.
Got a whole trilogy here. Anyway, yeah, so I love this movie. It was just one of those, just like I said, when I watched it, because I thought the trailer looked really cool, but you never know. And then Trish and I went to see it at a screening and we both freaking loved it. And then I became, like you were talking about how I do that thing of like getting people to watch movies.
Because you take them to watch them. Yeah,
this was a big one for me. Like, you gotta see Ready or Not. I'm looking at the poster. You can't see it, Matt, because it's off to the side, but I've got the poster.
I mean, I could look at it whenever I want. I have a
in fact, when I interviewed Radio Silence for
size of a
Scream,
phone. Yeah.
one of them had the poster behind them in their home office, and I said, I have that poster up too. And they were like, I don't think we've ever met anyone who had that poster except us who made Ready or Not. But I was like, well, I needed the poster. So
I echo your sentiments. I thoroughly enjoyed Ready or Not. Very good. And again, it's why I was confident. I had confidence that Scream 5 could land the plane.
Yep. Unfortunately, this movie is not currently on a streaming service. I wonder why they don't get it on Hulu, because this is a Disney-owned movie. It was a Searchlight movie. It was on HBO Max, but it's not anymore. So you could rent or buy it anywhere you could rent or buy.
That means Henry Czerny is a Disney princess.
He is. He's the most beautiful and wonderful of them all.
Eric's recommendation this week is cool. Mine is dumb. This is a dumb movie. And I will say, Eric, admittedly, there's a better version of this movie. It just wasn't made. I really like the movie Mystery Men. I think we've maybe mentioned it a couple times.
It's definitely come up. Yeah.
Maybe
it just recently came up with
here
talking about All-Star being that the song All-Star is actually from this movie.
Mystery Men, known for playing All-Star as its closing credits theme before Shrek used the song.
And if the music video for All Star is like based around Mystery Men.
Yes, not around Shrek. Sorry, Shrek stands. This is from 1999. It's a sort of a darkly humorous superhero movie based on no previous superhero like iterations. It's its own thing, and it's about a misfit team of superheroes. It's about people who really want to be superheroes and may not really have an actual power, but they just like dressing up in suits and costumes. Some kind of do have powers, but if they do, they're kind of reject powers. They're like powers nobody needs or something like that. It was directed by I don't know I don't know who Kinka Usher is. I know it was his first movie. And honestly, I don't think he directed a movie afterwards. I think he only directed commercials, directed Mystery Men, and then went back to directing commercials. It was a box office bomb. It's only got like 60% of Rotten Tomatoes, but the cast was a big cast at the time. And I think a lot of it works. I still quote from this movie. I still think a lot of it's funny. It's strangely directed. You know, the aforementioned Kinka Usher with a lot of like, it's almost directed like the opening diner scene of Natural Born Killers, except not as satire. It's just, that's his style, where a lot of tilted cameras, a lot of weird close-ups. The action isn't great. I'm going to stop ragging on this movie, I promise, because I'm recommending it. But yeah, so it stars Ben Stiller, Hank Azaria, William H. Macy, Janine Garofalo, Kel Mitchell of Kenan and Kel. It's got Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, Jeffrey Rush as an over-the-top bad guy named Casanova Frankenstein, Claire Forlani, Eddie Izzard, Tom Waits. It's like got a great cast. Greg Kinnear, I don't think I mentioned. And the premise is, in the city, there's a fictitious city called Champion City, and that has its own Superman. It's got a handsome, charismatic, do-gooder, all-powerful superhero named Captain Amazing, played by Greg Kinnear, who does a very funny thing he has a Clark Kentish alter ego named Lance. And then you've got like the sort of the rabble superheroes who are kind of wannabes. And they range from someone who wields a shovel to someone who throws forks to a girl who has a magic bowling ball that acts like a boomerang and has a skull in it. So it's like them wanting to be heroes, but also wanting to sort of curry favor and suck up to Captain Amazing. And the movie is just about basically Casanova Frankenstein breaks out of prison, captures Captain Amazing, and what are the misfit heroes to do when their Superman has gone missing? Like, who's going to save the city? It's going to be them. And I think this movie is a lot of fun. Again, I arguably has faults, but for some reason I quote from this all the time. It's one of those things that just has been on repeat.
You're not alone at all. I saw this movie once in the theater. I remember being amused by it, but not loving it nearly as much as I wanted to, mostly because, especially when it was coming out, it was like Ben Stiller and Janine Garofalo in a superhero parody, greatest movie ever.
Yeah.
And then I just thought it was okay, but I will definitely say I'm well overdue for a revisit, especially because you're hardly alone, Matt, in that, yeah, there's a cult following for this movie. It's definitely grown in respect through the years. And clearly, I mean, everyone, a million people have said this, but it seems obvious that this movie was 10 years too early. That this movie was opening at a time where our only, like when I say I mean mainstream audiences, non-comic book readers, they really had the Batman movies and not much else.
And at this point, what Spawn? Like there wasn't even the first X-Men movie. So yeah,
right. And so the fact that this came out, forget the MCU, it came out before X-Men and Spider-Man and Daredevil and Fantastic Four, all the pre-MCU stuff that would start to like build and build through the 2000s. So it just was too early for this type of movie. If it had come out, 2009, it might have been better received when it came out. But I remember liking it, and I've thought many times I should watch it again because many people I know and respect, like you, are mystery.
Oh, you respect me?
Mystery stands.
Mystery stands.
Yes.
Something happened on a previous episode, and I quoted from this, and somebody on Twitter said "nice mystery man" or something. Forgive me, I don't remember who tweeted at me, but then I said, I think I found my next good thing to enjoy. So this is actually, it wasn't exactly my next one because this was a few episodes ago, but I did get there. Person whose name I forget on Twitter. Forgive me. This can only really be rented or bought, but if you have a Starz subscription, I think you can get it through various Starz means. Sure. Like if you have a satellite TV that has Starz, I'm sure you can get it, find it somewhere on there. Mm-hmm. But other than that, it's kind of like Ready or Not. And speaking of gotta rent or buy, our next week's main event, keeping with killer couples going on the road, not on the road, just killer couples. We are keeping it pre-birth, pre our year of our birth, with 1973's Badlands, produced and directed and written by Terrence Malick, who
and I think I'm trying to remember now. This might be the first movie we're doing that I've never seen.
I have seen Badlands, so this is something I have seen and you have not, though I will say it's probably been 20 years, I think. Mm-hmm. I think you'll enjoy it. Terrence Malick isn't for everyone. This was, was this his first or second movie? If I don't know if Terrence Malick is nowhere close to being a household name. But for a while, he was hitting it big with movies like The Thin Red Line and Tree of Life. Mm-hmm. And but yeah, he is often known for his movies that don't succeed. He's made way more of those than his movies that have. And he hasn't directed that many things. So he directed Badlands was his first movie. Then it followed it up with Days of Heaven, which I believe was a huge bomb. Then it would be, he wouldn't make another movie, Eric, for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And it was Thin Red Line in 1998, which I absolutely love as a movie. That movie has a crazy story behind it too, as much as what's got cut out of it. But then he also did New World 7 years later. He usually was taking a long time between movies. That had Colin Farrell in it. It was the Pocahontas story. And then Tree of Life in 2011, which got like actual Oscar noms. So did Thin Red Line. But then his string of movies over the past decade has been like To the Wonder, Knight of Cups, this, and they've had like Ben Affleck and Kristen Bale in them. And
he's one of those directors who is so prestigious that he can get any actor. It's just he only directs a movie once in a while, and then he'll get.
Did you know that there was his movie in 2017 was called Song to Song, and it starred Ryan Gosling and Michael Fassbender and Natalie Portman, right? Like
I did not. No, literally, The Thin Red Line is the only one of his movies I've ever seen. So yeah, like
I've not seen anything close to his catalog, but I have seen that, New World, Tree of Life, and I think Tree of Life was the last.
I saw Critters 4.
Oh, did you see Ghoulies Go to College?
Yeah, that was amazing, Malick. That was really intense.
Okay, sorry, Bonnie and Clyde. Badlands stars Martin Sheen and Sissy Spacek, and it is not like our main event based on a true story, but it is loosely based on the murder spree of Charles Starkweather and his girlfriend Carolyn Fugit. Starkweather mentioned in Frighteners. That was one of the killers that Johnny was trying to beat.
Before we begin Bonnie and Clyde, I have one quick tangent. Are you ready?
Is it about how much you hate Blanche? Because I'm with you.
No, it's not. No, this is one of those stupid things where I don't think a single person was like, Eric never paid off a setup of his, but it's bothering me. So I'm telling it, which is I said at the top of last week, oh yeah, I got to tell my Oliver Stone Natural Born Killers Q&A story. That was the first time I'd watched the movie in like 20 years, was, a couple years ago, followed by a Q&A, and that there was a small story to the Q&A. Besides the fact
that you got to tell your Carol Goldman, Leonard Cohen story.
No. Okay. I think the story there is she loves Leonard Cohen. No, just it was a very memorable Q&A because Oliver Stone, very talented man, very weird man, very egotistical man, and it was one of the only times I've been to a Q&A that was kind of argumentative with two of the people, because it was a great Q&A. I mean, it was Oliver Stone, Woody Harrelson, Juliette Lewis, and Don Murphy, the producer. Don Murphy, this was his first big movie. He would go on to produce all the Transformers movies and a bunch of other stuff. But their differing recollections of how the script kind of became discovered and turned into a movie just got weird, because Don Murphy's story involved like, basically kind of the classic, like it was in a pile of scripts and reading, and this is the Tarantino script, and reading it and being like, this is great, we need to do this. And Oliver Stone, it was two things. He had a different memory of it, in which he was more like the hero who discovered it, but also because there's that weird tension between like Stone and Tarantino and kind of shitting on each other. So it was like, because he wasn't doing it like, I remember things a little differently, Don. It was like, no. And it just like a strange thing.
It sounds like your Q&A turned into a Q&A hole.
It did. And the sucky thing is, because he was being so weird and out there and like not really pleasant, they ended the Q&A pretty quickly, and it was totally Woody Harrelson, who you could see was super uncomfortable. And it's funny because not that Woody Harrelson's like a straight-laced guy, but I just don't think he was vibing with Oliver that night, which I don't blame him for.
I think from everything I know about Woody, he's a kind and sort of like nice person who I would assume would not want to be caught up in a battle of egos on stage. And if there's anyone whose memory I do not trust, it is Oliver Stone's.
So ultimately, I thought, man, this would have been better if it were just Oliver Stone or everyone besides Oliver Stone, because what ended up happening was Woody Harrelson's like, let's wrap this up. like the moderator, and like it was a very quick Q&A, and it's too bad because it was like, wow, they're all here for this movie. But then it didn't go great. So
let me tell you about the Q&A I went to for Ghoulies Go to College. Terrence Malick was adamant that he discovered the script when it was
I'm the one who said Ghoulies should go to college.
It was Ghoulies Go to Finishing School, and I was like, no,
this is bullshit.
Okay,
anyway, that's my story.
That's a good story. Bonnie and Clyde from 1967. Full spoilers for these two real people. So, Bonnie and Clyde. So this movie is based on two real people during the early 30s, during the Depression era of America, which was also, I did not realize, called the Public Enemy era, because I guess at the time, not just the Barrow Gang, but people were just walking into banks left and right, and not only robbing them, but like announcing who they were.
Right.
Like Dillinger and a whole bunch of people, like you're just like, because it was what a blissful time it was to be a traveling criminal, because it's like all you had to go around on people are Hayseed's fuzzy memories and sketches of people who probably couldn't draw really well, and lack of cooperation between police departments, and you could just live a happy life. Of course, all the people I just mentioned
here's me with no training giving psychoanalysis to people from almost 100 years ago. To me, I'm guessing, you have this combination of everyone's poor, like everyone just lost all their money if they had money. The Roaring 20s ended terribly. Now everyone's poor, and you're close enough still to the cowboy era that would still be like a thing, like the legendary outlaws that you might know, your dad certainly, so there probably was a combination there of like, I got nothing, and I remember that this was a thing with like outlaws 30, 40 years ago. And so you got this like this last wave of like the celebrity outlaw.
Public Enemy era. It was widely used in the 30s to describe individuals whose activities were seen as criminal and extremely damaging to society. And so we've got John Dillinger, who I already mentioned, the Barrow Gang, Pretty Boy Floyd, Machine Gun Kelly. Now we're just saying rapper names, by the way.
Well, Public Enemy.
And Public Enemy, too. Yeah. This is all just going to turn into hip hop, notably about 50 years later.
Coolio.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. And Babyface Nelson, right? George Babyface Nelson.
Oh yeah.
In fact, of course, there was a very famous movie called Public Enemy.
Yes.
I'm not talking about the Johnny Depp movie. I mean the one with what's his name, the over-the-top actor. Top of the world, Ma. Top of the world. Fuck, what's his name? Oh well.
James Cagney.
Yes, James Cagney. Thank you. Okay. So this movie was a historical biopic, but also took many creative liberties with the actual truth. It kind of simplified the lives of Bonnie and Clyde. There was actually a lot more exploits that didn't make it to the screen. Characters that were actually the C.W. Moss character, played by Michael
more
J.
gang
Pollard,
members.
were a combination of other gang members put together.
Yeah.
So yeah, not every, obviously, and I think people listening would know this. What you're seeing on the screen is not exactly what all went down, and in fact, it leaves quite a bit out. And I feel like even just watching this movie, it left out a lot of their exploits because it kind of jumps around, and it's like, oh, well, they've robbed 2 banks. Well,
in a way,
more off screen, but like they were also blamed for ones they didn't do. So,
but it is funny that this movie, when you read about real life, it's like sometimes you're like, these movies like make people bigger than life, or like, oh, they're like exaggerating. But if anything, it seems like they're under exaggerating because it went on for longer and more happened.
Definitely went on for longer because brother Buck joining the gang was at the end of what had already been a long run for Bonnie and Clyde and their other gang members.
Right.
Buck joined during the last 4 months of their tenure as a gang and died right before they died. So we're getting an abridged version that cuts out a lot of the Bonnie and Clyde without Buck stuff. Mm-hmm. It is also very, very heavily influenced by the 60s French New Wave cinema and the script was actually even offered to Jean-Luc Godard and Francois Truffaut to direct, before producer Warren Beatty, who at the time wasn't even planning on starring in the movie, decided that it was going to be filmed and edited and presented like French New Wave, but because it's Bonnie and Clyde, because it's basically a heartland starting in Texas story, it needed to have an American director. And so that's where, after unsuccessfully trying to get Arthur Penn to direct, finally convinced him a few years later to direct. And he stars in the Warren Beatty would wind up starring in the movie. Back when he wasn't going to star in the movie, his sister Shirley MacLaine was maybe going to play Bonnie, and then after her, Jane Fonda, Tuesday Weld, Sharon Tate, a lot of famous actresses of the time were offered the role, but it went to Faye Dunaway as Bonnie Parker. Let's get into this movie with its. That sometimes plays like a comedy. And then again, this is very French New Wave, the comedy and the stark violence happening within seconds of each other,
the directorial choices, which again, I didn't realize why it was like that. Because I'm like, well, this is not like American films at the time. And then it made sense, the French New Wave stuff, because like extreme close-ups and weird choppy editing, and there's like a shot of him early on like chugging a bottle of soda, but it's like underneath him, like this tilt and stuff, and it definitely feels on one hand like weird, but also ahead of its time, because especially American films at the time would be shot much more static than this, so it's kind of disjointed in a odd but interesting way.
I guess thinking back to like audiences in 67 looking at this, it was controversial because of the violence. This was one of the first movies that used squibs in a large way, as far as like people getting mowed down and you seeing those little pats of blood show up on their body. They just didn't do that. And the movies weren't violent the way like this one was at the time. And so let's say 67, we're talking 34 years earlier was Bonnie and Clyde. About that, so that would
very
be like
busy 30 years,
but I'm saying very busy, but that would be like us looking at something in like 95 or something,
which is bizarre. Also, two other things. It's like, okay, one, it's interesting that
actually 90, right? 30, or so
Beatty
88, 87,
Beatty producing this, basically, for him, his career after this, he become more and more a producer and director, and rarely do movies he didn't produce or direct. So this is kind of like
rarely star in movies he didn't,
right? Just star for other people. And then also, the whole idea that this is about anti-heroes, about people that are doing terrible things, that the violence gets pretty extreme. Very much this movie is like the first 1970s movie. It's just 1967. Like, it very much predicts where a lot of cinema will go in the 70s, with a lot of movies about criminals and their violent lives and often their violent ends. So I feel like this was definitely a trend-setting movie in that regard, and the fact that it got so many Oscar nominations and won two, probably and was a successful box office movie.
And also it was one of Faye Dunaway's first roles in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think she just started in movies that year, and then after this she would get Thomas Crown Affair and then Chinatown, Tower Inferno, stuff like that.
Rather ridiculously attractive in this movie.
Yes. I mean, that's, and it's pointed out in the movie by Clyde, by Buck, by anyone who sees her. So the movie opens with old-timey photos and a song, and I think it's the snapping of a Kodak camera, because that's sort of a big part of the movie. Mm-hmm. And the fact that this is still of an era. It's a long time ago. It's an era that's really unrelatable to all of us. But, they had photos. You can Google Bonnie and Clyde and see these photos they took of each other. These are real people, and they are taking photos of them holding guns and on the hoods of their car and stuff like that. I don't know who's in these photos, if it's just Depression era families or if they actually are related to the real Bonnie and or Clyde. I don't know. But and then we get a quick intro to Bonnie, born in 1910, Clyde Barrow, just released from prison for armed robbery. And then we get the, as Eric mentioned, close-up, Faye Dunaway close-up of her eyes, just being bored and bratty and, just, I got to get out of this town in her room.
If she was a Disney princess, she'd be singing the song about there's got to be more to life.
Life before, well, I guess radio back then, right? That's it.
Yeah.
And so she looks out her window and she sees Clyde Barrow trying to steal her family, her mother's car, and they get to talking, and it's sort of this is what you call a meet cute, Eric. I caught him trying to steal my car.
Yeah.
And this is in West Dallas, actually. So it's in my neck of the woods here. And they would film a lot of it around here and down in Red Oak, which is a little south of Dallas. So what, do you buy their chemistry off the bat? I could see why she would be taken with him.
Yeah, I think I do. As far as again, we don't have other movies might spend a day in her life before, this is very cut to the chase, right? We don't.
We don't even see her.
You don't see the boring local guy hitting on her, other stuff other movies might do to be I need some action. But I think that they do sell it in this very short amount of time, that just how taken she is, that she's just, look, it's funny, True Romance and other movies, a lot of movies will do stuff like this later. In a way, Natural Born Killers, but they do it through the skewed sitcom stuff of just instant chemistry, we are meant for each other. And let's just take it's us against the world immediately. And, he's, the more low key of the two, even though we've very quickly learned thinks highly of himself and his skills. But yeah, I think that she sells that she's just even if she's not attracted to him as much, it's just what he's doing, what he's representing. She's really turned on by him, just robbing a bank or robbing a store in front of her.
Well, that's the thing. So right out of the gate, he's I'm going big or going home. So he's I'm robbing, and she's either going to run away or she's going to come with me. Right. So he robs the grocery store and here, look, I proved it. I saw money. And so they run off, and she's bought a ticket to ride. And then we get into that Clyde is impotent. And it was interesting to note the creative decision here, because apparently in the original script, now I don't know what I didn't do a dive into Bonnie and Clyde and who they actually were as real people, but the original script had Clyde being bisexual, and it featured a three-way with Bonnie, Clyde, and a male. Not the version of not CW exactly, but a version of a character who would have been their driver. Yeah. and they decided that it wouldn't hold, it wouldn't work, and that it would at the time make them seem like sexual deviants on top of being criminals.
Well, also
and
just like selling like the studio. Is
and then
yeah.
there was rumors Warren Beatty didn't want to be bisexual in the movie, or then also the ratings board itself. But then the decision was made to. Now, I feel like they could have just made a decision to have them be lovers, but they decided to throw a kink in it, which is that he is heterosexual, but he is impotent. And so it's never, that word is never used in the movie.
And it's such an interesting choice because nothing in real life indicates this is a thing. This is not coming.
It is an interesting creative choice. Like it makes their bond different, right?
Right.
And all he says is like she'll be kissing on him for a while and he pushes her and he's just like, I ain't much of a lover boy. And that's, we get the context. I'm assuming audiences of the time get the context too, as far as like what that means.
Yeah.
He's like, he tells her he's not gay. It's just that, he's ain't much of a lover boy. And then later on in the movie, when she tries and he tries too, and it doesn't work, he's like, "Well, at least I'm not, I'm not a liar, like I was."
And then it does work later. It's just, it's funny that they decided to add that in. And then part of me is like, it feels like to me a couple of things here, which is one, throwing like just some weird level to their relationship just to make it interesting, to add this extra layer to it. Because like you said, they did toy with this whole bisexual threesome idea. So they wanted to do something different because we're doing these bigger than life characters. And they decided to go in this totally other direction. So one, it feels like that weird tendril of that. The other is the inescapable thing of the fact that, isn't it preposterous that one of the most notorious ladies man, the guy who banged his way through Hollywood, Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty. Yeah,
I don't know what has had this reputation because he's been So to me, there is the funny part of me that thinks that Warren Beatty's like, I'm not going to play a guy who'd have sex with a man, but it's so silly to imagine I can't have sex because it's so preposterous that I'll do.
That is weird. I don't know what his reputation was at this point.
I think it was already there.
Probably. He'd only done a few movies, but he'd been in showbiz.
I think he probably already had that. And of course, the 70s, it would like, he'd be like, he'd do shampoo and he'd like basically be parroting himself by that point for that reputation. So that to me feels like a weird, just a weird Beatty thing as the producer of this movie, that he's like, isn't it silly? Like, I'm not playing myself.
He and Annette Bening were regulars of mine when I managed the Pete's in Studio City. You have several Warren Beatty stories.
I have several Warren Beatty stories, including the time though I did have to drop something off. I worked on a movie that he was in as a PA, and one time I had to drop something off at his house that Annette took from me in the driveway, and she was nice. And it was she was like, "You want to come in and watch Grifters with me?" And I'd say yes, because that's a great movie.
I was just trying to think of the one movie I know she was naked in. I'm sure she was naked in other movies.
I didn't even remember that.
I remember that. I remember that when I saw it in the theater. I remember it to this day.
He said, "Oh, now the grifting's getting good."
He's like, "Is this what grifting really means? Is this the life of a grifter?" Okay. So basically, like, I'm trying to think here.
Oh, but also we should mention, like, it's like, the
he sells her on it. He's like, "You hate your life. We deserve more." It's like, you're a knockout. Like, you deserve a nice dress. He's giving her the sales pitch after he wasn't able to have sex with her. Really, it's still like,
but flashing back before that, I just want to mention, like, she is so like turned on, and I mean in every sense of the term, like, and then they do this incredibly like direct thing of her touching the barrel of the gun, like looking all like hot, looking all like, oh, this is, so it's like, they don't have to have sex because this is gonna get her off, like, like, this is. And
we also get a taste of the sort of the comedic element here too, with the banjo music as they're driving off, because I'm assuming that banjo music was just as silly in 67 as it is now. I don't know, maybe it was like different, but it's silly. It sounds like Duke Boys shenanigans going on.
Oh yeah, and there are moments in this movie that it's it's in direct opposition to what it's happening.
Oh yeah, we're like literally everyone's shooting their gun at once,
and people are getting shot and killed, and then they'll play the banjo music. Also, I guess people pointed out that some of the music played in this movie is like 10 years later than 1931, but it evoked oldie stuff. So they're like, whatever.
Oh man, I would have hated to have been on Bonnie and Clyde Twitter back in 1967.
How can anyone support this movie?
Not my Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah. So then they do basically he's teaching her how to shoot. They're squatting in an abandoned house, and then the actual old owners pull up, and then we get like the taste.
Well, and that's also, don't forget when he says, "I ain't good, I'm the best," which is very Mickey and Mallory type line. It's very.
I don't feel like they hammered this home enough in the movie, because it sort of starts here, which is like him being the folk hero of like, we're not robbing actual people, we're robbing banks, because everyone, the bank's taking homes, everyone's screwed in this time. And so I'm not saying they're Robin Hood, because they're not giving it back to the poor or anything, but he does see himself as like a hero of the people.
And they are seen. I mean, again, it's not like a huge part of the movie, but yeah, that big part with the farmer and the other farm hand who he has like help shoot up the house that got foreclosed on, and then the part when later on when they are both shot. And
I was going to say, I don't think that pays off until later when they help, they give them water, and they're like,
yeah, the homeless people again, because the movie doesn't hammer home, I think, which is fine. It's to its credit that it's the Great Depression, so that they are folk heroes simply for robbing from the banks, because everyone collectively is like, fuck the banks.
Even though the first bank they go to like doesn't have any money because it failed. Right. The first couple attempts don't go well. The bank's already out of commission. They rob a grocery store, and a guy attacks him with a cleaver.
That's a good moment. That's a good surprise moment.
Clyde is so indignant to this. He's so upset after. He's like, why did he try to, again, this is him like, why is he trying to kill me? Like, I didn't want to hurt him. I'm just after the money. This leads to the guy giving his first horrible sketch of Clyde Barrow, and sort of like, this implicates Clyde and everything. And he gives Bonnie a chance to leave, but she won't do it. I forget, Eric, did you see this movie before?
Yes. Okay. I think I'd only seen the entire movie. I might be wrong. I might have seen it one time since, but I saw this movie kind of under cool circumstances, which was better part of 20 years ago.
Robbing a bank.
Yeah. Maybe 15 years ago. But the Chinese theater was doing a bunch of Warner Brothers movies for like one of Warner Brothers anniversaries. So like I saw this on the Grauman's Chinese and it was I saw Bullet, a few other movies that way that I'd never seen. And it was a cool way to see it, and I really liked it. And I felt maybe I saw it one time since then, but it's been a long time for this.
Then we get them meeting C.W. Moss, and C.W. Moss is played by a longtime character actor, Michael J. Pollard, who would be with Warren Beatty again in Dick Tracy. I don't know if he was in another Warren Beatty movie after this, but he certainly was in every other movie, because Michael J. Pollard, if you recognize his younger face, it's because you've seen his older face in so many things.
But he has a baby face too, so it's all confusing.
Yeah, so everything from, especially in the 80s when he was like in Roxanne and Scrooged and Tango and Cash, Next of Kin, Dick Tracy, oh my goodness, everything. So yeah, he's had a lot. He was in House of a Thousand Corpses. He actually just recently passed away only 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he plays C.W. Moss, and amalgamation of other gang members who just sort of comes on board as their driver. Very green under the gills, young baby-faced, like guy working at a gas station.
He knows cars is really the reason they grab him. Yeah.
And he's the reason for their first like major fuck up, where I don't know what Clyde's actual past was, like armed robbery he was in jail for, but if his first actual ever murder is shooting a guy point blank in the face through a window, that's pretty intense.
I mean, in real life, again, there was so much. I mean, I don't know if you read this, Matt. It's like in real life, his first murder was a fellow inmate who apparently had sexually assaulted him.
I didn't read up on it.
And so his first murder was someone in prison, though then he'd murder many people outside of prison. But yes.
And then there's the story he tells that's sort of confirmed later on with his brother, that he did cut off 2 of his toes to get out of work detail in prison.
Right. And
then we learn the punchline that comes up later is that he was paroled a week later.
That's true.
Ain't life funny. So, Michael J. Pollard joins the C.W. Moss. He mistakenly parallel parks their automobile at a time when automobiles were even more clunky and harder to drive than they are now, and certainly don't go very fast, because you can catch up to one on foot pretty easily and then get shot in the face. And then they hide out in a movie theater. And so Clyde is upset. I would be too if I had to shoot. Was this one of the guards? I can't remember, or a bank manager right in the face.
Yeah.
And he's blaming CW for it very loudly, but also it's kind of like, yes, he made a mistake, and yes, it wouldn't have come to that if he hadn't made a mistake. But he is not. He's you see in that moment, he's also not somebody who takes responsibility for his own immediate actions. Like it's all he can do to put it on someone else's shoulder and make CW feel bad about all that.
Going back just a couple, a couple scenes earlier. Also, this is where, Bonnie is sort of elevated to, now she's going in with him, and they have a nice.
Well, yeah, they have a driver now. Yeah. So
and what she wants to do, and they have a nice moment. I like the moment where she proclaims, "We rob banks," which is what she heard him say earlier. So it's like she, again, sort of getting off the, the fact that they're celebrity criminals because they want to be. It's like, that they're going to announce themselves in such a way, and that she'll kind of repeat the things that he had said, because she's into that.
So this is when they try to have sex again, and it is unsuccessful. And he says, "At least I ain't a liar." And then we get the introduction of Gene Hackman as Clyde's rowdy older brother, Buck. And this isn't Gene's first movie, but it's pretty close to it, for somebody who would go on to have a long, long career.
And I think he was screen. 37, but he already looked about 50.
So this was, he'd been doing a few movies, and this was certainly his I don't even know the history enough to call it his breakthrough, but he did get nominated for an Academy Award for it. So
all 5 of the main actors of this movie got nominated, which is pretty amazing.
I would say that I have an interesting question. Oh, so Estelle Parsons, who I knew growing up as the mom on Roseanne.
Right, same here.
Estelle Parsons played his wife Blanche, who I am the founder and president of the anti-Blanche faction.
Estelle Parsons, who has played Roseanne's mom, has the Connors.
Yeah, she's on the Connors as well. Yeah,
and she is 94. And so it's funny because Hackman's 92 and he's retired, but Estelle Parsons.
I want to know, Eric. I want to know how Gene Hackman. Let's take Gene Hackman and Warren Beatty. Gene Hackman retired, 15 years ago? What was his last movie? It was a while. It was something stupid like Welcome to Mooseport.
Right.
Warren Beatty, though, as we mentioned, hot in the 60s and 70s, did some stuff in the 80s. Bugsy was a big Oscar thing. Then, did 3 more movies. And I guess he made a movie in 2016 I had no idea about. But before that, it was the one you worked on in 2001, Town and Country, or in 2000, at least. How these guys can just retire from movie making and doing things, while Bruce Willis has to make 7 movies a year of these crappy Redbox movies, straight to grocery store dispensaries of these really low budget actioners. What lifestyle is he living that he needs? It's weird money?
Because who does he owe? We know Nicolas Cage had serious financial issues, and that led to him doing a bunch of those kind of movies.
I would argue, though, that Nicolas Cage, his every 5th movie of him is usually pretty great.
No, there's 2 things.
Whereas Bruce Willis is
there's that, and there's the fact that every one of his movies he's trying something. He's there.
Well, Bruce Willis is absolutely sleepwalking and using a body double most of the time.
So I don't know, like, is Bruce Willis kept quiet serious financial issues? And if he doesn't have serious financial issues, why do these movies? Like, why not just pull a Hackman and just not do anything else if he doesn't want to be doing it, which he clearly doesn't based on his performances. It's a weird one.
Anyway, I was just thinking about that watching this movie because of Hackman and Beatty, who both like basically stopped doing things and only doing things if they really, really want to, but not because they need to.
Yeah. And Beatty even early, because Beatty, like we said, it's like he turned to producing and directing his own projects, and then there was never like a Warren Beatty movie a year. It was just always like every few years if he decided that he wanted to do something, So all right, he must have invested wisely. And
that's what I mean. Someone needs to teach Bruce Willis money management.
Apparently.
All right, Bonnie and Clyde. So now we've got Buck and Blanche at first is very just standoffish and sort of prudish. And little did I know that she would turn it. I mean, I knew because I've seen this movie before, but she turns into the embodiment of a Jonah Krakow, shut up, like to the point where other characters in the movie are telling her to shut up constantly.
Bonnie hates her immediately though.
Yeah.
Like Bonnie.
Well, it's also because she hates Bonnie immediately. So it's sort of reciprocal. They both just do not care for each other. They're both different. Maybe she's intimidated by Bonnie's attractiveness and assertiveness, while Bonnie just resents her modesty, which maybe she thinks is false modesty, and her judgmental attitude, and that type of thing. But so they like meet up with Buck and Blanche, and Buck himself is an ex-con, and they just kind of go on like they're Clyde's wanted. I think the whole gang is wanted at this point. And so they go to rent a home to go on a vacation, like a staycation. It's kind of like an Airbnb. Like they give him, they go to, can't remember if they're like in Missouri at this point. Buck picks up the phone, gets an Amazon Fresh delivery of like pork chops.
Sure.
And they sit around playing chess. Oh, it sounds so awful between Blanche's attitude and the volume of her voice, and Bonnie forcing everyone to listen to her awful short story. It sounds like an absolute nightmare. But
besides, her short story aside, Bonnie is hating it too. Like Bonnie,
she hates
so
it.
Bored.
She hates it.
This is not the action lifestyle.
Buck is loud, Blanche is loud, and Clyde isn't really loud. He's trying to play peacemaker, starring John Cena in the middle, and like smooth things over whenever the two women have a problem with each other. And basically it's like he's the one who gets them to listen to her story, and Buck's like making fun of it. But thankfully, breaking up this absolutely awful living situation are the cops who just show up and open fire on the entire house. And this is when Blanche goes completely goes the full Blanche and just is like, and like basically like gives them away, and to the point where, and so again, to Bonnie's credit in this whole dangerous endeavor, she's firing out the window along with everyone. And that's why like later on there's such a point of contention when Blanche wants her cut, because she's not doing anything.
Right.
She's there.
Well, no, because and then also
like everyone else, but she's not going
on the road.
bank.
I mean, then on the road, it's not just that Bonnie's part of like defending them. It's that Bonnie does the bank robberies, and Blanche,
she goes in with them. So a lot of people get killed. Cops get killed at this point. Buck's killing them. Everyone's killing them. Blanche takes off down the street like a dog scared by lightning. They just have to like grab her and pull her into the car.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get, I don't know what the time difference is here, but maybe a couple months later. But at this point, we cut to them reading about their exploits in the papers, which you get the feeling that they've done a lot in this time, but also they're being blamed for things they didn't do.
Right.
And sort of commentary about the exaggeration of media, and also about just the misinformation at the time. Like a lot of times the newspapers are just going on bad information because it's all a game of telephone back then. And I don't mean actual telephone.
No one's got a camera phone, guys.
No one's got anything.
Very few people have a camera, so
And then we get to the Frank Hamer scene. Now, Frank Hamer is the Texas Ranger who is played by Kevin Costner.
No, Woody Harrelson.
No,
you're
Kevin
right. You're
Costner,
right. Sorry,
Costner
plays Hamer. You're right.
He plays Hamer, who's a Texas Ranger who, in reality, was called out of retirement to go find Bonnie and Clyde.
Costner plays him in The Highwayman, not in this film.
No, yeah, I said The Highwayman.
Yeah.
And the real Frank Hamer actually tried to sue this movie based on his portrayal, because he wasn't portrayed right. Not only was he portrayed as somebody who was bounty hunting, like going after them and not on ranger duty, which apparently he actually was on ranger duty. But the whole thing with them taking his picture and humiliating him never happened.
Right.
So like they souped that up for the movie, and then it became he had a vendetta against them, and the real Hamer didn't like that either. Like he was after them because they had made fun of him and like made him look like a fool. So it makes me more interested to look at The Highwayman again. It's not a documentary or anything, but I think we'll get since Hamer's the lead of that movie, I'm assuming it's a much different portrayal.
Yeah. It's also funny that, again, how, a lot of these movies were based on true events, because it's like their photos are, the fact that they took a bunch of photos is a real thing. And they're famous photos that a lot of them are recreated in the movie, as far as like them posing with guns. And like the fact that they were, playing up that like we are celebrity criminals, and would do these pictures, and there's real pictures of Bonnie and Clyde that you can see that look very similar to the ones they do in the movie. But the movie extends it to this whole thing with this Texas Ranger that didn't happen, of like forcing him to take photos with them. So it's like
and like she kisses him and he spits in her face, and yeah.
And then we should mention that it's Uncle Jesse.
God, it is.
It's Denver Pyle.
That's awesome.
Who, for our generation,
unrecognizable,
which is crazy, because this is like 10 years before Dukes of Hazzard. This is not 30 years before Dukes of Hazzard. But for if you're our age and you grew up,
so like
Dukes
by
of
1979,
Hazzard,
this guy was going to be looking like full like backwoods Santa Claus.
Yes.
For
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Uncle Jesse.
I see it now in my head. I absolutely see it. Denver Pyle, which is like that's right. I thought that name sounded familiar on the wiki page. I should have just clicked on it, because Denver Pyle, I was just thinking of Gomer Pyle, the old series. But okay, so now let's see, where's their next stop? This is when they actually do the bank robbery. Bonnie's in there. Gene Hackman leaps over that bank thing. I don't know, those fucking feat of gymnastics there. And then they announce themselves as the Barrow Gang. And then at this point, as far as the fame goes, the people are all interviewed by the newspapers afterwards, and a cop's interviewed. And
this seemed cinematically, I thought this was really interesting and cool and ahead of its time. The cutting between the chase as they flee and people being questioned and the people posing with their bullet hole.
Well, this felt the most like satire. This was like the silly music and the shooting and the media. And this was the closest this movie got to Natural Born Killers.
Yeah. And the people left in their wake who were excited that they were like encountered them. And yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we're not mass murderers or anything, and we totally value human life. But if we were going to be serial killers, we'd be Mickey and Mallory. Yeah,
I mean, that's the crazy thing. I mean, we should just mention, it's just an interesting thing about, if when you read about Bonnie and Clyde, it's like, it is the closest, certainly we'll ever get again, probably, to a real life Mickey and Mallory, as far as like, that they were like strange, like folk heroes, or if not folk heroes, just folk. They were real people, but that, especially because of the era and the fact that there couldn't be very credible accounts.
We did get a new Bonnie and Clyde in 2003. I told you already, with Jay-Z and Beyonce. But
we did get that, yes. Because look, again, it's like, yes, these in real life were terrible people who the Barrow Gang. It's very hard to account for who actually killed who. Whether Bonnie ever killed anyone is in dispute, and we'll never know. but the Barrow gang killed 9 cops and 4 civilians, I believe. So it's like, these were just murderers. Like these just kill a bunch of people.
And I mean, it's not anything close to Mickey and Mallory's 52 people,
Well,
but
no,
like,
but they were dealing in the 1930s, man. So.
I know there was fewer people, so it's if we adjust for inflation, it's about
way more
people.
spread out. Yeah.
Okay. So then, and in a speaking of Uncle Jesse, in a total Duke Boy move, the cops will not cross over into Oklahoma. That is actually something that's a real thing where jurisdiction, they would be out of their jurisdiction to arrest them, and they are not risking their lives.
And I believe I read so much last night that it's all a blur, but that was a real thing at the time. And also it was shortly after Bonnie and Clyde that robbing a bank became a federal crime, that like the FBI might be involved.
Right. That they can actually chase them on a national level.
Right.
And then, I mean, because the first time you and I were introduced to anything close to that was on Dukes of Hazzard, when they wouldn't cross county lines.
That's right.
All right.
It was the sheriff in the next county we saw once in a while.
Yeah, he was always angry because he was trying to get them, and then they go back into Hazard.
Right. All I know is that show and their car is aged great.
Everything's wonderful. You tweeted a little bit about this. Now we get to GeneFest 67.
Yes,
which was the best year for GeneFest. If you look at the lineup, we got Gene Hackman in one of his first 4 or 5 film roles, and then the first ever film role for someone who had also become hugely successful in the 70s, Gene Wilder.
Who the same year the producers would come out. So
was it? I thought it was the next year. Okay, same year.
But
so he was about to break huge too.
He did this first, yeah.
And but this was also a hugely notable, successful film that got a lot of nominations at the Academy Awards. So he was in 2 winners, and when he's in the car with Velma and them, it doesn't feel as much of a comedy. There's comedic beats. He's like, "Oh, this isn't my burger," and then he finds out she's 33. Like there's these like there's like little zingers in there, but the way he reacts when he's initially chasing them because they stole his car,
right? And
he's just like so livid. It seems like a comedy. He's like, "I'm going to give," like. I was like, does he think he's in a screwball comedy at this point? Because that's what it feels like. Amusing scene, especially when they turn around and start chasing him, and then they actually kidnap them. Do you know why she kicks him out? Because he says he's an undertaker.
Only, I think thematically this begins something in the movie, which is her sensing, really starting more and more to think about how they're heading towards a bad ending.
Okay. I didn't know if she was going to say like my father was an undertaker and he used to beat me. I don't know.
He's based on a real there was a version of this really happened with a couple more than once. I guess they kidnapped real people and would be really friendly to them. Again, there was the dichotomy of them because they killed people, including civilians, but sometimes they would just do these like.
I don't think they actually drove up on people and just murdered. I think it was always in the trying to get out of getting out of a bank robbery or something. They weren't Mickey and Mallory.
Speaking in the defense, no, I guess you mean no. But this is based on a very specific thing though, which is there was a couple whose car they stole and they took the people to and were very friendly with them. And this thing happened, I guess, in real life. The story is. She said, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm an undertaker." And she said, "Maybe one day you'll be working for me." And the crazy thing is, Matt, he was there for when they were brought to the morgue. Like,
womp.
Yeah, this guy. That's your like Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone ending. In the movie, I think this definitely begins a whole subplot or theme for her because shortly after this is the stuff with her mom.
Yeah, after this, she misses home and she sort of runs off into the field. And,
in real life, it sounds like, because in real life, she wasn't freaked out by him saying he's Undertaker. And in real life, I guess both of them would make a lot of dark jokes about how they're going to die soon. But in the movie, it's like this is the turning point for her of it's been fun, and then starting to realize we're heading towards something grim. There's no way out of this. Begins with, I think, him saying I'm an Undertaker, and then we kind of see it more and more with her mom right after that, kind of saying, "Oh yeah, that's right." The quote I put of her mom saying, you try and live 3 miles from me and you won't live long, honey. And basically her realization that her life is over, that she ended her life.
Basically all the things that Clyde promised her. It's like, hey, you want to go into a fancy restaurant, you want to live somewhere cool, you want to do all these things. It's like all of it was unattainable to her. She was always going to be on the run, being in a temporary housing, looking over her shoulder. She was never going to get a chance to wear a nice dress in a fancy restaurant because she was wanted by every cop within 1,000 miles. So
right because that same scene, it's a good scene, and I was putting a bunch of quotes down because right before the part I just said is like when he says he's all jovial saying oh, we ain't headed towards nowhere, we're just running from, and they cut to her not liking that because it's like, yeah, our life is now just about not being caught. Like that is the only thing we have now, and there's no way out of that because either we're caught or we keep running. But yeah, there's no settling down, there's no other than this.
So interestingly enough, I looked up the mom because she didn't seem like an actress. So I was like, is this Faye Dunaway's real mom? Who is this? And it turns out she was a school teacher in Red Oak, Texas, where they were filming that scene. And she was watching them set up production, and she drew the attention of the filmmakers, and she was cast right there to be Bonnie's mom. I don't know what their plan was otherwise, right. But she literally, did
they fire like some famous actress who's like supposed to play her?
They literally were she was just a woman from town, and that's why. But I really liked her naturalness.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting because Bonnie and Clyde are so theatrical, and they feel like they're from such a different world as the rest of the populace at the time, that like to have her mom feel so salt of the earth that she's an awful actress actually works in that scene. So
right. I was thinking of how like Bonnie and Clyde are like stylized and whatnot. We should mention especially, I mean, both of them, I mean, they're both very attractive people, dressed to the nines. But Bonnie's look, which is 100% based on the photos of the real Bonnie, that beret, but how Faye Dunaway, gorgeous Faye Dunaway in a huge hit movie dressed like that, would become a like huge like influence both on real life fashion, but also the Bonnie look, and Clyde, but again to a lesser extent because that's just kind of, Clyde is dressed like the cliche of an old time gangster with the hat. But the Bonnie look especially, it's like people will dress like that all the time as far as like, I'm a 30s criminal. And they're really dressed like Bonnie Parker.
Yeah.
And the Faye Dunaway version of Bonnie Parker, which is based on the real one. It was funny, in fact, last night, Matt, because when I Googled something about Bonnie Parker beret, and one of the articles that came up was like, how Bonnie Parker became a fashion icon. Yeah. And it was like,
that's Weird Al's parody that Prince wouldn't let him do. Bonnie Parker beret.
There you go. It got pretty dark. But...
Oh God, I lied so hard. I was like, this Bonnie and Clyde episode will not be 2 hours. Well, guess what? So
it's a big Oscar nominated movie, man.
Right after this, things get Bonnie's already sort of spiraling, but after this, everything goes.
And the one other thing I want to mention at this point, because especially as we go into into the end game here, is Blanche. I do like the subtle thing they do with Blanche, which is because Blanche is useless. Blanche wants money for doing nothing, but Blanche starts to carry herself a little cooler. She's dressing a little snazzier. She wears the sunglasses the Buck stole off someone all the time. So she's kind of likes the trappings of it a little bit, but she does,
but she's also still completely useless.
No, 100%.
And she and CW get an actual moment together in the car where they get to talk to each other like normal people outside of the louder bank robber people.
Interesting, by the way, Estelle Parsons, the only actor to win an Oscar for this movie. All 5 of them were nominated.
Oh God, she shrieked so much, especially when she went blind. She got even louder.
She understood the assignment, Matt, as the kids would say. But it is funny that she playing like the least likable character. It's not a bad performance. But,
shut the fuck up, Blanche.
But but Blanche won't shut the fuck up. But Estelle won the Oscar.
So. But then somebody sees CW's gun, and then all of a sudden they're surrounded by cops now with grenades and like an armored tank car of the era that looks
but Bonnie and Clyde have the grenades. The cops have the tank car.
Oh, that's
Bonnie,
right. I just wrote grenades. So I was like, okay, so yeah, now it's like a full on, like everyone is way more armed to the teeth that like everything escalates. They go from pistols and then eventually they get Tommy guns and so on. And now the grenades and the cops have a tank. And this is when,
and I will say, when Bonnie and Clyde were killed, their real car, they had like an arsenal in the trunk. Like they had like, I've seen like the picture of like all the guns and ammo they had, and it was a lot. It was like from
quite
a
a bit. And then we get Buck is shot in the head. Blanche is shot somehow like in the face of the eye, but it causes her to lose her sight. And it causes the volume of her voice to go up several notches on the dial. And
shut up, Blanche.
Then they're just doing their best to try to hide out in the field, but come morning time they're surrounded and there's just more shooting, and Clyde's hit and Bonnie's hit, and Buck finally dies.
Yeah, and Buck, I mean, because Buck is like shot in the head and he's all fucked up anyway, so yeah.
And Blanche is screaming.
This is really intense. Yeah, like when Bonnie gets shot in the shoulder, like it's like, oh, okay.
And Clyde carries her. Yeah.
It's like, because he's already shot at that point. So yeah, this is getting pretty, and again, definitely ahead of his time. As far as like, you know, the bloody violence that's occurring here was not a normal thing in a mainstream movie to be occurring.
Well, Blanche's punishment is that she gets to go to prison and be blind after all of this. So that's what I assume.
And Uncle Jesse ghosts her. He gets her talking and just.
He doesn't. You know, she can't see who he is.
He gets her to give up CW's name, which is all he cares about, and then he.
So
leaves.
An interesting element here, because Bonnie and Clyde, after they get water and aid from the sort of homeless encampment of like farmers who lost their homesteads. They go to CW's father's house. And CW finally comes home after all this time. And an interesting swerve here with CW's dad is that he is all chuckles and grins with Bonnie and Clyde in a way that we would come to expect. Like, hey, these guys are cool. They're just hardworking people. Everyone's trying to make a buck now. Who can blame them? Cops suck, banks suck. So he's a fan. And he's happy to see his son, but as soon as they get inside, he was just putting on an act, which I was like, that is very complicated psychology for like what it seems to be like a poor dirt farmer of the time. So, but yeah, like as soon as he gets him inside, he just rakes CW over the coals for everything he's done.
Throws a bunch of food on his shirt.
Mostly specifically the tattoo. Like he seems murders are bad, but the worst thing it seems CW
that felt very real to me, only because I can only imagine a 1930s like, you know, bumfuck guy.
Also, it is a pretty terrible tattoo.
Yes, yeah. You should have gone to my guy.
Yeah. So what's happened to me? Why did you get a dragon spitting flames?
That would have been so metal.
You get a Game of Thrones tattoo, says dark wings, dark words.
That's right. I do have it in my notes that like, yeah, the most sort of this like whoa use of the silly banjo music is after everyone's shot and they're getting away. It's like, because it's like, you know, people, Buck's dead, Bonnie and Clyde are both shot. But no. But again, it seems like that was obviously an intentional choice.
So we're in the end game now, as they're recuperating and healing from their horrible gunshot wounds at the Moss residence. Bonnie writes a poem, uses her creative writing skills she's honed on the road to write a poem. They actually send it to the local outlets. It gets printed, the story of Bonnie and Clyde, and
which she wrote in real life but did not send. They found it, like the photos. They found a bunch of stuff.
Clyde is over the moon about this. This is everything he's always wanted, and it's so much so that he's able to perform the sex. So this is, I wonder, like at that point, do you think it was ego? Like, do you think it works for the movie? Like that he's overcomes his impotence in that moment.
I don't know. It's a weird. I'm torn about this whole thing, especially because it wasn't based on. It's such an interesting, weird thing to add to this guy who has a lot already in real life to include to put this thing that is not based on real life.
I just wonder if there was like what the creative conversations were. It's like, well, they can't die without having sex or something like that. Like,
I mean,
is it for the audience? Is it for Beatty's ego? Like what? I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
it's weird. I mean, you don't even need that, although it ties into this sort of their last let's try to pretend we can have a happy ending, because then he talks about getting married. And it's like once more, like let's try to fool ourselves that there's any way this doesn't end with jail or death.
She tells him, she's like, you did just perfect, but he was probably pretty terrible, right? Like
yeah, probably.
Like nobody's buying that. Like, and then it's basically CW's dad cuts a deal with Hamer to get a reduced sentence or just a lighter sentence for CW. All he has to do is not get back in the car with them. And it's sort of that long, like final 5 minutes, the tension drawn out of like, I think it probably, it works really well. I'm assuming it like just that everyone was on the edge of their seats in the theaters in 67, like
right.
As they're doing the little things, like he's got the sunglasses with one lens popped out and she's looking over her shoulder and there's a cop across the street. And CW won't come out of the building. And like, so it all just creates this atmosphere of unease because we know it's coming. And it feels like they know it's coming too. Like just the general vibe in the air is just like something's off.
And again, I mean, especially her, because again, the last third of the movie is kind of her feeling more ominous. And even when he talks about getting married, she cries and it doesn't seem like it's happy tears. It's more like she knows that's still a lie. The idea of that. So I think definitely we're supposed to think she knows this is coming and has for a while. And then the fact that CW's dad is like an active part of it. It's not just that he set it up. It's like he's
like the distraction.
Yeah.
In the middle of the road. Over. And then we get a very, very famous violent end of this movie. The death of Bonnie and Clyde. Just one of those when you see like montages of famous moments in the 100 years of cinema, like this is one of them, and just really goes all out with the violence. Violence is old hat to us here in 2021 in movies and television, and it's really hard to like actually do something that's startling and unnerving for us at this point. That's just not straight up torture porn. At the time, this was absolutely jaw dropping for people
and
watching.
It must have been
movie.
really jaw dropping because as the combination, seeing it all, because you just weren't used to that level of depiction of violence again, because there'd been a million cowboy movies where people were shot and killed, but it was bloodless. So the level of violence, the fact they're shot so many times, the fact they use a bunch of squibs so it's bloody, and the fact that it's the very end of the movie, it's the two beautiful stars of the movie. Like, I'm sure this fucked up. Like,
even Butch and Sundance, we didn't see
it's
a
more
scene where they mow down.
It's more
Butch
romanticized.
This is like literally. It's also literally the end because right after their bodies drop,
which is a thing of that era. You're just
the movie's over. But I mean, like, a movie can end with no credits, but it like they could have had an actual extra scene of cops talking or something, or someone or a dirt farmer talking to the press or anything.
Or
literally ends with the gunning down of Bonnie and Clyde using a ridiculous amount of bullets.
Mm-hmm. Which is based on fact. Like,
they in fact, totally
it became controversial. Like, even at the time, the fact that they weren't given a chance to surrender was it actually did that hurt the reputation of the real Frank Hamer and stuff. Is like that it sounded like you should have given them a chance to surrender.
It's not stop, come out, and then they pull guns and they shoot. It's like no, we need to trap them so we can literally mow them down like assassins. Like
I mean, I guess in real life it was almost even worse because it's I don't know about even worse. Just in real life,
that's the name of a Weird Al album.
Right, yes. In real life, they didn't even get out of in the movie. He gets out of the car to help. In real life, I guess he had slowed down his car But they were both in the car and just shot. Like, again, yeah, no warning, no, like, this is definitely, there'd be some controversy on the news about this one.
I mean, it would last a day, but yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, the cycle. Yeah. I did not realize, Matt, until recently, that the car is in Prim. If I'm driving, we could have gone and looked at it.
Oh, in Nevada.
Well, yeah, the first city when you pass into Nevada,
15,
the first place you can gamble is where Bonnie and Clyde's car is as a tourist attraction. Kind of grimly want to check it out, and may do so the next time I go there.
Yeah, we should mention the first time you enter, first place you can gamble entering from like your drive from LA into Nevada. All right. Cinema classic, Oscar-winning movie.
I really
Clyde,
like
what?
this movie,
Yeah. What? So what all did it win for? Let's check it out. So Estelle Parsons
cinematography. It only won 2. Cinematography and Estelle Parsons for Best Supporting Actress.
But yeah, nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress.
2 supporting actors.
2 supporting actors
Cancel each other out, probably. Yeah. Screenplay,
costumes.
I'm
Oh yeah, well, she became a
costumes.
fashion icon. Yeah,
I know. It's still to this day. Halloween 2018, they dress as Bonnie and Clyde, but they do the reverse sex thing to have some fun with it.
Faye Dunaway won a BAFTA.
And obviously, yeah, this movie made her a star. Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty, known to younger audiences for reading the wrong Best Picture winner at the Oscars a few years ago,
when it was in fact Moonlight and not La La
but it wasn't
Land.
their fault. It was
that's the real story of Bonnie and Clyde.
Right, that was the sequel we never got. Now, I really like this movie. I remember, like I said, when I saw the Chinese, I really liked it. I was actually thrown a bit when I watched it last night, just because I'd forgotten the unusual sort of direction and those close-ups and stuff, which are kind of jarring early on. But I actually also appreciated it for like doing something so against the grain in American films at the time. And yeah, really,
and just remember, this was sort of how Natural Born Killers was supposed to end, because Mickey and Mallory was supposed to get killed originally. But yeah, Bonnie and Clyde ends with them both dead in a heap, and their brightness disappeared.
Brightness disappeared. And then I thought about how funny it is that in another movie we've done on this podcast, in Bride of Chucky, when there's that line about Mickey and Mallory, Bonnie and Clyde, they were killers. Like that movie equates real killers and fictional killers, but they're both famous from movies.
Yeah, real talk though. Eric and I were, when we were coming up with killer couple movies, obviously we're like Bride of Chucky, and Eric was like, we'll just do it again. We'll just do Bride of Chucky again.
Right. And then we were saying we should keep doing Bride of Chucky, like find different ways that we can fit it into different themes.
And somehow just keep getting Liv Morgan back. And she's like, I have nothing more to say about this movie. Now I hate it. Yeah.
It's time number 6. Bride of
Thank you for making me hate my favorite movies.
We don't want to do that.
All right. That movie was literally the end. And now we will literally end this podcast.
Okay, just the podcast. Whew.
Yeah, just this episode. Just this episode.
Okay.
Not the series, not the podcast in general or our lives. Just this episode.
Yeah, not the how do they make us wait 3 more weeks for the assembled episode of Hawkeye to spare.
All right. Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real except Bonnie and Clyde, because they were real people, and Shakma.
Shakma.
Shakma!